Hi, this is Becky. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about NAMI or NAMI. I'm not sure how we say it, but it is N-A-M-I. And I found out, I did some research, and it is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So I pulled up some statistics, so I thought I'd kind of go over those a little bit in this video to give you a little more insight. It says you are not alone. In the other video, I talked about the statistics that 1 out of every 6 youth ages 6 to 17 is experiencing a mental health crisis. And now this one says 1 in every 5 U.S. adult experiences mental illness. 1 in 20 U.S. adults experience serious mental illness. And 17% of the youth 6 to 17 years experience mental health disorders. It's almost a quarter of our youth. All right. Over a 12-month span, they did some research, and so I'm just kind of giving you the research that they found. They said across the United States, and I'm going to go in the order from the smallest percentage to the biggest percentage. There is a 1% of the United States population is diagnosed as schizophrenia. 1% is also diagnosed obsessive compulsive disorder. 1% is diagnosed borderline personality disorder. 3% are diagnosed as bipolar disorder. And 4% are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. 8% have co-occurring substance use disorder and mental illness. And 8% have depression. And whopping 19% have anxiety disorders. Does it sound like the U.S. is doing well spiritually, emotionally? If we're not doing well spiritually and emotionally, it's impossible for us to thrive financially. As above, so below. If our people are in pain in their soul and in their spirit, their lives crumble. We need to uplift them. We need to be giving them medicine of smiles and support and cheer, because we want them to stand in their divinity. We don't want them telling society, F you, I'd rather be a convict, I'd rather just be a thug. It's easier. We want to make it easier for people to stand in their divinity so they can be in their purpose and have good mental health. The United States is trying, I do believe, trying to revamp the systems. But those of us that are working on God's time and God's dime aren't going to stop. You're going to see me keep posting. You're going to see me out there. You're going to see me moving. You're going to see me talking with people. But when people are stealing my money, stealing my energy, stealing my resources, blocking my algorithms, hacking my computers, you're not hurting me. You're hurting the planet, and you're hurting God. And I don't have to do I don't even know how to do hexes and spells. I know our words are spells, but I'm too busy helping people to worry about sending negative energy anywhere. I don't want negative energy to course through this vessel at any time. If I can avoid it, I'll just keep moving. Keep it moving. All right, 12-month prevalence of any mental illness, and this is all U.S. adults. 23% of all adults in the United States have a mental illness. There's no shame in talking about diagnoses and labels that other people try to pin the tail of the donkey onto you. That's all it is. Don't latch onto those labels and hold on to it and make it your identity. Pain only becomes a part of our personality unless you allow it to. So don't allow it. Let it drop. All right, 16% of adults in the U.S. are of Asian adults. We have 18%, and these are just mental illness. So 16% of the Asian adults have mental illness. 18% of the Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander adults. So these are the people that came from these other places here to the United States. 18% of the Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islanders have depression or mental illness of some sort. 21% of Black adults. 21% of Hispanic or Latino adults. 24% of white adults. 27% of American Indian or Alaska Native adults. 35% of adults who report mixed, multiracial, and 50% for lesbian, gay, and bisexual adults. Now, do I fit in the lesbian category? No, I do not. Do I fit in the gay category? No, I do not. Do I fit into the bisexual? No, I do not. I fit into demisexual and sapiosexual. So, there you go if you wanted to know what my type was. Stimulate my mind, not my body. Okay. Little more info for you in mental illness and the criminal justice system. Like I said, I worked with the kids in and out of the systems, and I worked within the systems. And God in the universe said, you don't have to be subjected to being a slave in the systems anymore. You are now officially God's expert on behavior and communication and the ascension process. And launching. I am finally launching, right? Whew, took me long enough to get my freedom. And I don't ever want my kids to ever think that I wouldn't have had them all over again. They know that I would have never married their dad if I hadn't been forced to, but it doesn't mean that I regret ever having those children. They know that, and I love them. And they are my prodigal children, and I can't wait to celebrate them coming home, the heroes that they are. Okay, people with mental illness deserve help, not handcuffs. Yet people with mental illness are overrepresented in our nation's jails and prisons. We need to reduce criminal justice system's involvement and increase investments in mental health care. Now, I know that there are some crooked law people, right? But like I said, it's a broken system, and there are some really great people in positions. Like Judge Reedy down in the Terre Haute area is doing phenomenal work with domestic abuse cases, and I've got to help a little bit with him and the Christian Counseling Center that he's networked with, and I just am very grateful for what he's doing in the court systems to protect children and families and keep us safe. It's nice to know that there are some true divine masculines in higher positions that truly are here to do God's work to protect and provide for the children in the earth, and the least of these, right? The veterans, the single mothers, the elderly. Thank you for all of you who are in humble service. All right, so about 2 million times each year, people with serious mental illness are booked into jails. Nearly 1 in 4 people are shot and killed by police officers between 2015 and 2020, and they had diagnosed mental health conditions. So 1 out of every 4. About 2 in 5 people who are incarcerated have a history of mental illness. 37% in state and federal prisons, and 44% held in local jails. So you want to beat up the systems, you have no idea what they're working with. That you have no idea the dangers and the demons that they are trying to help expel from these vessels, that the souls have died or in the process of dying, the demons are taking over. And other entities that do not want us to have peace on earth are taking over these hurting vessels, so we have to help them heal. Suicide is the leading cause of death for people held in local jails. Okay? These are not rehabilitation centers. They are detention centers, and to be honest, I think most of the time people just continue to dump more hate onto the individuals that are in there, and usually they're just traumatized, overgrown children who don't know how to get their needs met and have died in their heart and in their soul. 66% of women in prison reported having a history of mental illness, and almost twice the percentage of men in prison. Women are not being taken care of properly and the divinity is being raped. And like I said, people who do not understand energetic rape, they do not understand the currency of your divinity, they do not understand the power of your presence. And the healing energy that comes just from your existence. And you can see they don't want me talking. See, this is what I'm talking about. Oh, I love when it gets caught on camera and you can actually see it firsthand. All right, an estimated 4,000 people with serious mental illness are held in solitary confinement inside U.S. prisons. They wanted to institutionalize my daughter when she was very young, saying that she was a safety hazard, you know, a death threat to me and my other children. And I fought tooth and nail, and I did research, and you know, I didn't take anything anybody told me lightly, and I made sure to do my due diligence, which is why God and my ancestors said, you are the expert in this area, and there's no denying it. Okay, communities. The youth, we have 70% of the youth in the juvenile justice system have a disposable, my reading again. Brain is not designed to read, especially when under extreme pressure without the right nutrients. But I know resources are going to start showing my way, hopefully pretty dang soon, so I can actually get some proper nutrition. All right. About 50% of veterans are held in local jails. 55% report experiencing mental illness. The veterans are a huge passion. I've been noticing that usually when I do like an elderly care or respite care, the end of life care are usually if they're not disabled in some way, like then it's usually veterans. So I've been noticing that, and it just warms my heart that I just know that God is using me. There was this one sweet couple where the wife was passing away, and I was there, you know, as a companion and a guide and to help and caregiver, and her husband wouldn't let me lift a finger. He's like, you just sit there, you fill out the papers, I've got her, I've been taking care of her my entire life, I'm gonna keep taking care of her till the end, so you don't have to worry, honey, I got this. And to watch that, it was just never settle, ladies, never settle. All right, people of color. Among incarcerated people with a mental health condition, non-white individuals are more likely to be held in solitary confinement, be injured, and stay longer in jail. Now, I know people want to say, oh, people of color. Well, skin pigment, because, you know, we can get into this. Really, people with a darker skin pigment are actually more spiritually powerful. Whether you know that or not, they are spiritually more powerful. So there was reasons other than just physical labor and things, breeding and stuff like that, of why things in the past happened the way they did. But I'm not even going to go into all that. What I'm going to say is that we as a species, if we want this planet to survive, and we know the ripple effect that if this planet implodes, if we destroy it, the ripple effect that it has throughout all of the universes and all of the galaxies, is why those of us that have been here as a hybrid sleeper cell for God and the universe and the wisdom keepers for the Galactic Council, but have been incognito as, you know, working in the systems, that we're in an emergency situation now where God's like, no, I'm calling you to the front line. You don't have to stay in the back of the pack anymore. Like, if they fall off, they fall off. We love you, veterans, but the ones that she was helping, she's helping one or two. We need her to be a voice for the voiceless up at the top, so then that way she can be heard by the masses, because what needs to be put out is going to come through this vessel when it comes to behavior, communication, divinity, really following what God's design is. And whether or not the people that I deliver those messages to actually use that advice is not my responsibility. I am just a messenger delivering messages straight from the cosmos. Okay? So, that being said, access to care. About 3 in 5 people, which is 63% with a history of mental illness, do not receive mental health treatment while incarcerated in the state and federal prisons. So again, it's a broken system, and that's why it's a repeat cycle, because we have to actually put the supports in place when they're in that system to get them the love, the care, the nutrition, but if that avatar is completely embodied in darkness and there is no way, then we do have to look at other ways of, I hate to say the word, disposing of those entities that are trying to wreak havoc in the 3D plane, because they do have a physical avatar that they can jump into, because they're an alcoholic who's given up on life, and now, whoo, we're going to jump in that vessel and we're going to take over and we're going to wreak havoc, right? So, and we don't want people sitting there smoking marijuana until they're just so oblivious and they're like, I'm just going to sit here and play my video games and let the world fall apart. No, because guess what? You're on that planet too, dummy. So, like, get off the couch and get a job, pick something, do something, build something, grow something. I don't care, but geez, make the place better than you found it. Make a person smile. That's medicine. And then reciprocity. Make sure you get payment. And the payment could be your neighbor doesn't have a lot of food, goes to the food pantry. Well, you have extra food, so you're going to take your leftovers and you're just going to go over there and be a friend. You're going to say, hey, I just had these leftovers. Here you go. If you want it, you want it. Little things like that used to bring communities together. My grandparents used to do the tent revivals. You bring the community together, and then you help build interdependency, where you could say, hey, can I buy her a cup of sugar? Can I buy? Remember, that's the kind of stuff that's built the communities. That was the glue that held it together. The little things, going over, sitting on the front porch, rocking, having, some sun-made iced tea. 45%, less than half of people with a history of mental illness receive the mental health treatment. I mean, that just blows my mind. So we know that they have mental illness. We're going to throw them up and lock them in a cell for a little while till they calm down, and then we're just going to toss them back out. And go, okay, well, see you next month, or see you next year, or see you next week. I had a brother-in-law like that. He was just in and out, in and out. I mean, all the police knew him by name, and oh, there he is. Okay, he's passed out in someone's yard again. Give him a PI, but people aren't actually helping that individual. Now, I didn't stay attached to that individual, so I don't know if helps were available and he didn't utilize them. I don't know. I don't judge. But I just know that he is a hurting individual that's still out there wandering around, and hurt people. So we have to be connected with God and have our spiritual gifts activated, fully functioning, and in our alignment to be safe. People who have healthcare coverage upon release from incarceration are more likely to engage in services than reduce recidivism. So that's that whole repeating back. So halfway houses, it's another system that people want to complain about it, but it's like, okay, well, what are you doing to help? I remember times where I would have friends that didn't know what to do with their teenage daughter. One woman who would babysit for me out of her home. She had a lot of problems. I'm not saying it was the best babysitter, but when you are in the pit of hell and you don't have resources because everybody's withholding them from you, and you're trying to work and take care of babies, you take the help that's available and you're grateful for it. And she kept my baby safe as much as she could in her condition. And her teenage daughter wanted to drop out of school, was prostituting, had STDs, and I said, how about this? In payment for the babysitting that you've done, how about I move your daughter in with me? I will help her get on her feet. I'll get her to the doctor. I'll get her back in school. I'll help her get a job, help her get her savings account. She'll do babysitting for me, and we'll call. And so I said, okay. Daughter agreed. Moved her in with me and my kids, and she was doing the exact same thing she was doing for her mother with me. And I said, no, this was supposed to be a boost up for you, and you were going to help me in the process, and that's not what you did. You caused all kinds of problems, more chaos, more damage for my children and me. I said, no, we're not doing this. These are the rules. Take them or leave them. And I went to school to teach, and then when I got back from school, her mom was sitting outside, and she had already moved all of her stuff and had disappeared because she didn't want to see me because I'm just so horrible. And her mom was just kind of like huffy with me and was like, well, my daughter said that you were just so demanding and unforgiving and like unruly, because she was like smoking, and I don't want smoking, and my daughter had asthma and I just don't like the smell of it. And anyway, boundaries had to be set. I set them. She decided to move, blame me as being the bad guy for setting the healthy boundaries in my own home. And it becomes very difficult to know how to help, when you don't have an organization. So I understand why people are drawn to the churches and things like that, but you really need to be in alignment with God and have your discernment and have your spiritual gifts, so that way you don't get used and abused by anybody ever. Or if you do, but it's because you didn't know better, right? And then when you know better, you can do better. And that's kind of how my life has evolved. It's like, oh crap, I got myself into some hot water. I'm going to back myself out of it. And I'm going to be like, all right, lesson learned, not going that. I'm going to go this way now, right? So my story is filled with pitfalls and flaws and all kinds of gravel road. I said, sometimes I feel like, God's taken me from the paved path of the princess onto, like, the wild, wild west, unpaved territory. And now I'm going, wait a minute, how did that happen? It was like, oh, spiritually you got bumped. And so now reflect on you. Why did you get bumped? And I'll be like, okay, now how do you get back into alignment? And so I feel like I'm learning still how to navigate this vessel, because I had so many people try to steal my blessings, steal my remote, steal my emotional peace. Oh, I'm so glad I survived the parenting stage of life to make it to the grandma stage and just get to be. All right, if you would like help with your hero journey, or even creating a hero journey, maybe you didn't even realize that life was supposed to be a hero journey and you want to know more about it, I can tell you about Jesus's life story and how he was on a hero's journey, and how we can help make your story, your life story, turn into a hero's journey as well. And if you're already on that hero's journey, I want to know what adventures you've had so far and where you're headed. So I look forward to talking with you in my next video. I hope you have a great day.